George B. McClellan is often remembered as the great organizer of the Army of the Potomac. Nicknamed Young Napoleon or Little Mac, he was instantly popular with his men who served under his command. His military command style, however, put him at odds with President Abraham Lincoln and would ultimately upset his military and political fortunes. McClellan began his military career after entering the United States Military Academy in 1842. He graduated second in his class of 59 in 1846, along with 20 others who would become full-rank generals during the American Civil War. He was appointed as a brevet second lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers and served under General Winfield Scott during the Mexican-American War. Upon the outbreak of the Civil War, Ohio Governor William Dennison appointed McClellan Major General of Ohio Volunteers on April 23, 1861. This promotion, along with the support of Governor Dennison, encouraged Lincoln to commission McClellan a Major General in the regular army, making him one of the highest-ranking individuals in the service under only Winfield Scott. McClellan began his work swiftly, ensuring that Kentucky would not secede from the Union. He then commanded forces during the Rich Mountain Campaign in what is now West Virginia to ensure that the portion of the state would not be fully taken by the Confederates. This success, combined with the defeat of General Irving McDowell at the Battle of First Manassas, led McClellan to become commander of the Army of the Potomac and later General-in-Chief of all federal armies upon the retirement of General Winfield Scott in November of 1861. It was during this time that McClellan cemented his bond with his men of the Union Army. Although many politicians and generals harbored resentment towards McClellan, he was largely received by his men. After the defeat at Manassas, much of the Army of the Potomac was unorganized, and its new commanders set to work providing the men with proper military training. As he built the army, however, McClellan also became weary of the Confederate forces, fearing that he faced numbers many times his own. In the spring of 1862, McClellan was removed as General-in-Chief, though he retained command of the Army of the Potomac. Facing great pressure from Lincoln, he launched a campaign against the Confederate capital along the Virginia Peninsula, known as the Peninsula Campaign. He was tricked by the Confederate commanding general Joseph E. Johnston that he was facing a much larger force. McClellan frequently delayed his attacks, allowing his opponent ample time to retreat slowly towards the Richmond defenses. A surprise attack by Confederates at the Battle of Seven Pines blunted the already sluggish Federal advance. Although the Union Army repulsed the attacks, McClellan again delayed any further movement, hoping for more reinforcements to come from Washington. Seven Pines had another impact on the campaign, though. During the battle, Confederate General Johnston was wounded, and Robert E. Lee was appointed to replace him. Taking advantage of McClellan's cautious streak, Lee hammered the Army of the Potomac in a series of fierce assaults. Over the course of the bloody 7 days battle, McClellan's mighty army was forced to abandon its bid to seize Richmond and retreat to the safety of Washington. Following General John Pope's failure to capture Richmond with the Union defeat at the Battle of Second Manassas, McClellan moved northward with the army that had such strong affection for him. With Little Mac at its head, the Army of the Potomac moved to counter Lee's 1862 invasion of Maryland. The Union chief molded his campaign around the captured document outlining Lee's invasion plan. After a series of skirmishes along the Blue Ridge Mountains, the two armies met in an epic contest at Antietam on September 17, 1862, the single bloodiest day of the war. Battle-wearied and bloodied, the Confederate army retreated back to Virginia under the cover of darkness. Though he had managed to stop Lee's plan to invade the North, McClellan's trademark cautious once again denied the Northern cause a decisive victory. After the battle, a disappointed Lincoln visited McClellan in camp to express his frustration at the general's inability to capitalize on the most recent success. The general continued by saying the army needed more time to rest. In November of that year, McClellan was relieved of command for the last time and ordered back to Trenton, New Jersey, to await further orders, though none ever came. In 1864, McClellan became involved in politics when he was nominated to be the Democratic candidate for president against his former boss, Abraham Lincoln. McClellan ran on an anti-war platform, promising that he would negotiate peace terms with the Confederacy to help end the war as soon as possible. But by November of 1864, a string of Union successes had convinced many that the war was in its final phase. McClellan resigned his Army commission on Election Day, but ultimately Lincoln was elected to a second term.